Diana never imagined that a single act of kindness could change her destiny. She had spent years enduring humiliation and hardship, yet she never allowed cruelty to poison her heart. But what happens when the very people who look down on her are forced to kneel before her? This is a story of fate, deception, and justice, a reminder that kindness is never wasted. Stay with me until the end, because this tale will leave you speechless. A life of struggles. Diana had always been a survivor. Life had never been kind to her, but she refused to break. After losing her parents at a young age, she worked tirelessly to support herself, juggling multiple jobs just to make ends meet. When she finally landed a position at Elysian Boutique, one of the most prestigious luxury fashion stores in the city, she thought she had found a glimmer of hope. But hope was a fleeting illusion in a world ruled by the rich and the ruthless. Her manager, Susan, was the embodiment of cruelty, cold, ruthless, and obsessed with power. To Susan, Diana was nothing more than a disposable pawn, a girl from the gutters who had no place in an elite establishment. Susan made sure Diana knew it every single day. While the other sales associates were rewarded with high commissions and praise, Diana was given the lowest tasks: scrubbing floors, running errands, and cleaning fitting rooms. If she managed to sell something, Susan would shamelessly claim the commission as her own. But Diana endured. She always endured, because she believed that one day her time would come. The mysterious customer. It was a typical day at Elysian Boutique, at least until he walked in. The moment the elderly man stepped inside, the entire store fell into a hush. His clothes were old and tattered, his shoes worn out, and his face bore the weight of time. A beggar. That was the first thought that crossed everyone's mind. Susan's lips curled in disgust. "Sir, I think you're in the wrong place," she sneered, arms crossed. "We don't do handouts here." The staff giggled, whispering amongst themselves. None of them made an effort to assist him. To them, he was just another poor man who had no business being in a luxury store. But Diana saw something different. His eyes deep, kind, and filled with wisdom. There was something about the way he carried himself, something that didn't quite fit the image of a beggar. So, while the others scoffed, she approached him with a warm smile. "Can I help you, sir?" she asked softly. "Would you like some water?" The old man's eyes lit up in surprise, as if he hadn't expected kindness. He nodded gratefully. "That would be lovely, dear." Diana rushed to fetch a bottle of chilled water and handed it to him. He drank slowly, savoring every sip. "What's your name?" he asked. "Diana." "You have a good heart, Diana. Tell me, if I were to buy something, would you help me choose?" Diana smiled. "Of course, sir. What are you looking for?" Before he could answer, Susan interrupted with a harsh laugh. "Oh, come on, Diana. Don't waste your time. He's just here for the air conditioning." But the old man ignored her. He turned to Diana and said, "I'd like to buy 10 full outfits. The most expensive ones you have." Silence. The staff exchanged incredulous glances before bursting into laughter. "Yeah, right. And I'm the Queen of England," one of them mocked. Susan scoffed. "You must be joking, old man. Do you even know how much that costs?" But Diana didn't hesitate. "Let's find you something nice," she said, leading him to the racks. A test of character. As Diana carefully picked out elegant suits, silk shirts, and designer shoes, the old man nodded in approval. His choices were impeccable, as if he had an eye for fine fashion. But the laughter and taunts continued. When they reached the counter, Susan smirked. "All right, Grandpa. That'll be $20,000. Cash or card?" The old man patted his pockets and sighed. "Oh dear, I seem to have left my wallet at home." The room erupted in laughter. "I knew it. What a waste of time." Susan cackled. "Diana, you're such a fool." Diana, however, wasn't laughing. She felt a pang of sympathy. "It's all right, sir. Maybe next time." The old man shook his head. "I'd still like to leave with dignity. Could you lend me some money for a taxi?" The staff gasped in disbelief. You're not actually giving him money, are you? Susan sneered. Diana didn't hesitate. She reached into her purse, pulled out her last few bills, and handed them to him. Here you go, sir. The old man took the money with a strange smile. Thank you, Diana. You'll hear from me soon. Susan rolled her eyes. Yeah, whatever. Get out. And with that, the old man left, disappearing into the busy streets. Little did they know, their lives were about to change forever. Whispers of fate. The day after the strange encounter, Diana arrived at Elysian Boutique as usual, expecting nothing but the same routine of humiliation and exhaustion. Yet something in the air felt different. A shift she couldn't quite place. As she straightened the display racks, she couldn't shake the words of the old man from her mind. You'll hear from me soon. Meanwhile, Susan remained oblivious, basking in her own arrogance. To her, Diana was a fool who had wasted her time on a beggar. She didn't know that fate had already set its course and she was about to be its next victim. An unexpected visit. The boutique's doors swung open, and a group of men in sleek, tailored suits strode inside. Their presence commanded immediate attention. One man stood at the center, tall, poised, radiating authority. It was Richard Alden, the CEO of Alden Enterprises, the parent company that owned Elysian Boutique. Susan's face lit up with forced charm as she rushed forward. Mr. Alden, what an honor. To what do we owe this visit? Richard's piercing gaze swept across the boutique, assessing everything in mere seconds. But then he turned slightly, and behind him stepped the old man from the day before. Gasps echoed through the store. Diana felt her breath hitch. It couldn't be. Susan's face twisted in confusion. Sir, why is he here? She stammered. Richard folded his arms. That's exactly what I'm here to discuss. Revealing the truth. The old man stepped forward, his presence now exuding an air of quiet power. Allow me to introduce myself properly, he said, his voice steady yet commanding. My name is Henry Alden. I am Richard Alden's father. Silence. Absolute, deafening silence. Susan's smug expression shattered instantly. The entire staff looked at each other in horror. The CEO's father? The same man they had mocked and humiliated just yesterday? Susan stumbled backward, her confidence evaporating. Sir, I didn't know. I swear. Henry's gaze hardened. Didn't know. His voice was cold. Does one need to be wealthy to deserve respect? Diana, who had been standing quietly, felt her heart race. She looked at Henry, then at Richard. The way they carried themselves, the resemblance was undeniable. She had shown kindness to the father of the most powerful man in the company. And Susan had sealed her own fate. Judgment Day. Richard turned to Diana. My father told me everything, he said. You were the only person in this entire store who treated him with dignity. Diana swallowed hard, unsure of what to say. I was just doing what was right. Richard's lips twitched into a rare smile. That's exactly the kind of person we need in leadership. Gasps filled the room. Susan's eyes widened in horror. Leadership, she choked out. Richard's expression turned icy as he faced her. And as for you, Susan, your behavior was unacceptable. You humiliated my father, mocked a customer, and ran this store with cruelty. Effective immediately, you are fired. Susan's legs nearly gave out. No, please. I didn't mean. Henry cut her off. If Diana, who had nothing, could afford kindness, what excuse did you have? Susan had no answer. There was none. Security stepped forward, and Susan was escorted out, her reign of terror finally over. A new beginning. Richard turned back to Diana. How would you like to be the new manager of the Elysian Boutique? Diana's breath caught. Me? But I. Henry placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. You earned it, my dear. Tears welled in her eyes. She had spent years enduring injustice, yet in a single moment her world had changed. All because she had chosen kindness when no one else would. Fate had finally smiled upon her. As the morning sun bathed the city in golden light, Emma arrived at work with a renewed sense of purpose. The previous day's events still lingered in her mind: the old man, the humiliation he endured, and her simple act of kindness that seemed to mean the world to him. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to him than met the eye, but she had no time to dwell on it. Stepping into the cafe, she was greeted by the familiar sight of customers lining up for their morning coffee, the aroma of freshly brewed espresso filling the air. But something was different today. The atmosphere felt heavier. Whispers circulated among her co-workers, hushed tones and stolen glances hinting at an underlying tension. Emma, Clara, one of the senior baristas, pulled her aside. "Do you know who that old man was? The one you helped yesterday?" Emma frowned. "No. Why?" Clara hesitated, as if unsure whether to divulge the information. "Rumors are flying around. Some say he's someone important, really important." Before Emma could respond, the cafe doors swung open, and a well-dressed man in his 50s strode in. His presence commanded immediate attention. He was flanked by two assistants, their expressions stern. "That's Mr. Alistair Grant," Clara whispered under her breath. "The CEO of Grant Enterprises. He owns this entire building, and apparently this cafe." Emma's heart pounded. Why was he here? The cafe manager, a nervous-looking man named Mr. Reynolds, rushed forward to greet him. "Mr. Grant, what an honor. Please have a seat. Can I get you something?" Alistair Grant ignored him, his piercing gaze scanning the cafe until it landed on Emma. She swallowed hard. What was happening? "You," he said, his deep voice cutting through the murmurs. "Come here." Emma forced her feet to move, approaching him cautiously. The entire cafe had gone silent, all eyes on her. "You helped my father yesterday," Alistair stated, his tone unreadable. "Did you know who he was?" Emma shook her head. "No, sir. I just saw someone being treated unfairly. I did what I thought was right." A flicker of something, was it approval? Crossed his face. "And you expected nothing in return?" "No, sir." Mr. Grant nodded slowly, then turned to Mr. Reynolds. "Fire the cashier who disrespected my father. Effective immediately." Gasps rippled through the cafe. Mr. Reynolds sputtered, caught off guard. "Sir, Did I stutter?" Alistair's voice was sharp. "I don't tolerate disrespect, especially not toward my father." Emma couldn't believe what she was hearing. Justice had been swift and decisive. But she wasn't sure how she felt about someone losing their job, even if they had been cruel. Alistair turned back to her. "And you, miss?" "Emma." "Emma?" he repeated. "Come with me." She hesitated. "Sir? I have an offer for you. One you'd be foolish to refuse." The cafe buzzed with speculation as Emma followed Alistair Grant out the door, her heart hammering in her chest. What had she gotten herself into? As the dawn broke, the morning rush at the cafe was relentless. Emma, now familiar with Mr. Harrison's routine, had started looking forward to their brief yet meaningful conversations. However, today he was nowhere to be seen. Instead, the atmosphere in the cafe had changed. There was an unspoken tension in the air, whispers among the staff, nervous glances exchanged, and an eerie silence whenever the manager walked by. Emma's curiosity piqued when she overheard a hushed conversation between two senior employees. "Did you hear? The CEO is coming today. Apparently, there's an internal audit." "Yeah, and rumor has it he's furious about something." A cold shiver ran down Emma's spine. She had never met the CEO, but the idea of a high-stakes audit sent her mind racing. Was it about the incident with Mr. Harrison? Had her kindness cost her the job? She shook the thought away and focused on her tasks, serving customers with the same warmth she always did. Just then, the cafe doors swung open, and a group of executives in sleek suits strode in. Leading them was a tall man with a commanding presence, his sharp eyes scanning the cafe like a hawk surveying its territory. Emma had never seen him before, but his aura left no doubt this was Daniel Sinclair, the CEO. The manager, Mr. Thompson, straightened his tie nervously and rushed to greet him. "Mr. Sinclair, welcome. It's an honor to have you here. Let me show you." Mr. Sinclair held up a hand, silencing him. His gaze moved across the room before settling on Emma. "Come here." Emma's heart pounded. Every pair of eyes in the cafe turned toward her. Swallowing hard, she stepped forward, her palms slightly clammy. "Yes, sir?" she asked, keeping her voice steady despite the lump in her throat. He studied her for a long moment before speaking. "You're Emma, correct?" She nodded. "Yes, sir." "Good. Follow me." The manager shot her a warning glance, but Emma obeyed. The tension in the air thickened as she followed Mr. Sinclair into a private meeting room. Once inside, he motioned for her to sit, then closed the door behind them. "Do you know why you're here?" he asked, his voice even yet unreadable. Emma hesitated. I'm not sure, sir." He folded his arms. "Tell me about Mr. Harrison." Her breath hitched. So it was about him. She chose her words carefully. "Mr. Harrison is a regular customer. He was treated unfairly by one of the employees, so I helped him. That's all." Mr. Sinclair's lips twitched. Was that amusement? Or something else? "And you didn't know who he was?" Emma shook her head. "No, sir. To me, he was just a customer who deserved respect." Silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken words. Finally, Mr. Sinclair exhaled slowly. "Most people only respect those they think are important. You treated my father with kindness before knowing his status. That speaks volumes about your character." Emma's eyes widened. "Your father?" Mr. Sinclair nodded. "Yes, and I appreciate what you did. But tell me, what would you have done if you knew he was related to me?" Emma thought for a moment before responding. "Nothing different, sir. Respect isn't about status. It's about treating people as they deserve." For the first time, Mr. Sinclair smiled. "That's exactly what I needed to hear." Emma exhaled, tension easing from her shoulders. But something told her this conversation wasn't over. And she was right. "There's one more thing," Mr. Sinclair continued, his expression turning serious. "Because of your actions, I've made a decision that will change this cafe and your future." Emma's pulse quickened. What did he mean? Was this good news? Or was her job hanging by a thread? The tension in the air could be cut with a knife as Emma watched the elderly man continue to struggle under the harsh glare of the bustling cafe. He had been treated with such disregard by the customers earlier, but she knew something was not quite right. His eyes, shrewd, calculating, told a different story. There was more to him than met the eye, and she felt a strange sense of urgency. But what could she do? She was just an ordinary waitress trying to make a living. She didn't have the power to change the course of fate. As she wiped down a nearby table, Emma's thoughts kept racing. The cafe's steady hum faded into the background, and she could hear the faint, rhythmic tapping of the elderly man's cane. His face was lined with years of hardship, and his clothes worn and frayed spoke of a life lived in the shadows. Yet there was something regal in his demeanor, a quiet strength. Something about his presence gave her a sense of familiarity, but she couldn't quite place it. It was then that a sudden gust of wind blew through the door as it swung open. The man straightened, and Emma's heart skipped a beat. Standing in the doorway, illuminated by the bright lights of the cafe, was a tall, imposing figure. His aura exuded power, confidence, and wealth. His sharp, tailored suit clung to his frame perfectly, and his piercing gaze seemed to survey the room like a hawk. As the man's eyes met the elderly gentleman's, Emma could feel the room hold its breath. It was as if the air itself was suspended in time. And then, in an instant, everything changed. The younger man walked briskly towards the elderly man, his steps deliberate, his expression unreadable. Emma couldn't help but watch as he approached, her curiosity piqued. She was about to ask if they knew each other when the younger man bent down, gently placing a hand on the elderly man's shoulder. "Dad," he said softly, his voice calm but laced with emotion. Emma's mind went blank. That. She glanced at the elderly man again, only now did she see the subtle changes in his posture, the way his eyes softened at the mention of the word. Her heart sank as she realized the truth: this was no ordinary customer. The elderly man wasn't just some helpless soul waiting for a meal. He was someone of great importance. The younger man looked at Emma, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you for looking after my father," he said, his voice now firm with a quiet respect. "You've shown him more kindness than anyone else in this city." "I'm grateful." Emma's throat tightened as she nodded. This wasn't what she had expected. At all. She had been so wrapped up in the way people had treated this man that she had failed to realize the one thing that truly mattered. Appearances could be deceiving. The man in front of her was not just a frail, elderly customer. He was the father of someone who wielded immense power. His son's presence only served to highlight the magnitude of the situation. What was supposed to be a simple act of kindness had now evolved into something much greater. The elderly man smiled faintly, his eyes reflecting years of wisdom and experience. "It's not often I find people who see beyond the surface," he said, his voice carrying a weight that seemed to reverberate in Emma's chest. "Most people are too quick to judge." Emma felt a pang of guilt. She had judged him too, just like the others. And now, she understood the lesson he had been quietly teaching all along. The younger man turned to her and, with a warm smile, added, "I'm sure you've heard of my company, but I'll introduce myself properly. I'm David Winters, CEO of Winters Enterprises. And this," he gestured to the elderly man, "is my father, the man who built it all from the ground up." Emma's mind reeled. David Winters? The CEO? It was as if the world had shifted on its axis. The humble, unassuming figure who had been sitting at the table, forgotten by most, was now revealed to be the father of one of the wealthiest and most influential men in the city. The realization hit Emma like a ton of bricks. David's gaze softened as he continued, "You've done more for my father than I can ever repay. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to ask." The words felt like a weight off her shoulders, but they also filled her with a sense of awe. She had never imagined that a simple act of kindness could lead to something so profound. Emma had just helped an elderly man, and in return, her life was about to change in ways she couldn't even comprehend. As the two men shared a quiet moment together, Emma stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. What had just happened? Was she really going to be involved in something far greater than she had ever imagined? The elderly man looked at her, his gaze steady and knowing. "You've shown the world what it means to see people for who they truly are. That is a gift." And with that, the weight of the moment settled over Emma. She had no idea what the future held, but she knew one thing for certain: her life was never going to be the same. Moral reflection. This part of the story truly highlights the core lesson. Appearances are deceiving. The elderly man, dismissed by others as frail and insignificant, was the father of someone with immense wealth and power. Yet, it wasn't his status or fortune that defined him, but rather his integrity, kindness, and the wisdom he had cultivated over his life. How often do we judge others based on what we see on the outside? We make assumptions about people based on their appearance, their social status, and their circumstances. But the truth is, we can never truly know someone until we look beyond the surface. Just as Emma learned, kindness and compassion often reveal the most important truths about a person. At the same time, this encounter serves as a reminder that every small act of kindness can have far-reaching consequences. Emma's decision to help the elderly man, without knowing who he was, changed the course of her life. It's a powerful reminder that doing good for others can create opportunities in ways we never expect. And sometimes, the most unexpected encounters can reveal the most valuable lessons in life. The air had shifted in the cafe, and so had Emma's world. Everything she had known to be true, the judgments, the assumptions, the routines, seemed to crumble in the face of a single, unexpected encounter. The elderly man, now revealed as the father of David Winters, wasn't just a figure of sympathy. He was a symbol of something much greater, something Emma hadn't yet fully grasped. As the two men made their way out of the cafe, Emma stood still, rooted to the floor, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts. She had always prided herself on seeing the best in people. She had worked tirelessly to be the kind of person who helped others, no matter the cost. But this was different. This was a lesson in humility, in the power of kindness, and in the complex web of fate that bound people together. David Winters, CEO of Winters Enterprises, one of the largest corporations in the city, had just acknowledged her. He had expressed gratitude, something that, in her experience, was rarely given by those in positions of power. The man who had once been a distant figure, someone whose name was synonymous with success and influence, had become real to her in that moment. He was not just a wealthy businessman. He was a son, someone who loved and respected his father, regardless of the outward appearance of weakness. Emma watched as David helped his father into a sleek, black car, their conversation low and private. It was clear to her now that the bond they shared ran deeper than any professional relationship could. The older man, despite his frailty, was still the backbone of the empire David had built, and his presence held a weight that no amount of wealth could ever replace. And yet, as the car drove away, Emma's thoughts turned inward. What had she just been a part of? In a matter of minutes, she had gone from being a simple waitress to someone who had unknowingly crossed paths with the powerful Winters family. She didn't feel ready for the magnitude of what was happening. She was still just Emma, still just the girl who lived paycheck to paycheck, who scraped by and dreamed of something bigger. But deep down, a spark had been lit. Emma had learned a valuable lesson that day, one that would stay with her for the rest of her life. It wasn't about the recognition or the accolades. It was about doing what was right, no matter the cost. It was about seeing people for who they truly were, beyond the surface, beyond the labels society placed on them. That evening, after the cafe had closed for the night, Emma sat on her small, worn couch in her apartment, staring out the window at the city lights. Her thoughts were a jumbled mess. She kept replaying the events of the day over and over in her head, as if trying to make sense of them. How had a simple act of kindness turned her life upside down? Her phone buzzed suddenly, pulling her from her thoughts. She glanced at the screen and saw a message from an unknown number. Tentatively, she opened it. "Hello, Emma. This is David Winters. I wanted to thank you again for the kindness you showed to my father today. I would love to meet with you in person to talk about something that could be of great benefit to you. Please let me know when you're available." Her breath caught in her throat. What? She stared at the message for what felt like an eternity. What could David Winters possibly want to meet her about? Could this be a mistake? She had barely said 2 words to him, other than to thank him for his generosity. But then, something in her gut told her it wasn't a mistake. She had done something significant today, and maybe, just maybe, this was her moment. This was the opportunity she had been waiting for, though she hadn't known it was coming. She typed a quick response, her hands trembling as she hit send. "I'm available tomorrow afternoon. Thank you for reaching out." As she sent the message, Emma leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. She was about to meet one of the most powerful men in the city. She had no idea what he wanted from her, but one thing was certain: she couldn't back down now. Whatever came next, she had to face it head on. She had to be brave, just as she had been in the cafe. The next morning, Emma woke up with a sense of anticipation that buzzed through her veins. Her heart was pounding as she prepared for the meeting, but she couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to take a dramatic turn. She carefully picked out her clothes, nothing too flashy, but something that made her feel confident. It wasn't a job interview, but she wanted to be prepared for whatever was ahead. When she arrived at the designated location, a high-rise building in the heart of the city, she was struck by its imposing stature. It was one of the tallest buildings in the area, a monument to the power and success of Winters Enterprises. Emma swallowed her nerves as she entered the sleek lobby, her footsteps echoing against the polished floors. A receptionist greeted her with a smile, and she was led to an elevator that took her up to the top floor. As the doors opened, she was ushered into a luxurious office space with floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the entire city. At the far end of the room sat David Winters, his face a mixture of professionalism and warmth. "Thank you for coming, Emma," he said, rising from his chair. "Please have a seat." As Emma sat down across from him, she couldn't help but feel like she was about to step into a new world. What was this about? Why had David Winters reached out to her? "Let me start by saying this. David began, leaning forward slightly. "What you did for my father yesterday was not something we take lightly. It's rare to find people who are willing to help others without expecting anything in return. And for that, I'm grateful." Emma swallowed, unsure of where this conversation was going. I was just doing what anyone would do." David smiled, but there was a glimmer of something more in his eyes. "That's what makes you different, Emma. And that's why I'm here today. I believe that you have something more to offer, something that goes beyond what you're doing now." Emma's heart skipped a beat. Could this be the chance she had been waiting for? Moral reflection. The winds of change are unpredictable. One moment you're living a simple life, going through the motions, and the next, everything shifts. This part of Emma's journey highlights the power of small actions, how kindness, done without expectation, can ripple through time and change the course of someone's life. Emma didn't seek recognition or reward. She simply saw someone in need and offered help. Yet, through that small, seemingly insignificant act, she found herself standing at the crossroads of a new path. The lesson here is clear. Every decision we make, every act of kindness, has the potential to unlock doors we never imagined. Sometimes, the smallest gestures lead to the most extraordinary opportunities. The key is to remain open, to see beyond the surface, and to believe that what you give to others can come back to you in ways you could never have anticipated. Emma sat in David Winter's luxurious office, her heart racing with each word that passed between them. The weight of the moment was not lost on her, though she tried to maintain her composure. This was not the life she had envisioned for herself, sitting in an office with a powerful CEO, discussing opportunities that could change everything. David Winters leaned back in his chair, his sharp gaze never leaving hers. There was a quiet intensity about him, the kind that came with years of navigating the complex world of business and power. But in this moment, he wasn't the distant CEO that everyone feared. He was just a man sitting across from her, offering something she had never imagined. "I've been thinking about what you said yesterday, Emma," David began, his tone more contemplative than before. "About how you just did what anyone would do. And while that's admirable, I can't help but think that you could do so much more. You're capable of more than you realize." Emma blinked, unsure if she had heard him right. "I am not sure what you mean," she stammered. David's eyes softened, a slight smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Let me be more direct. I've been keeping an eye on you, Emma. Not in a creepy way, I assure you," he added with a chuckle, trying to lighten the mood. "But I've seen how you interact with people, how you carry yourself despite the challenges. It's rare to find someone with such genuine character, especially in this city." Emma felt a warmth flush her cheeks, though she couldn't entirely fathom where this conversation was headed. What could David Winters possibly want with someone like her? She was just a waitress struggling to make ends meet. David continued, "I want to offer you a position. Not as a waitress, not in some low-paying job. I'm talking about something more significant. Something where you can put your skills, your empathy, your work ethic to real use." Emma's mind swirled, trying to grasp the full meaning of his words. "You want to hire me?" "Not just hire you," David clarified. "I want to give you an opportunity to join Winters Enterprises in a capacity that could allow you to make real change. You'd work directly with my team and have access to resources that most people only dream of. I believe you have potential, Emma. And I'm not asking for anything more than for you to take a chance on yourself." The room felt smaller now, as though the walls were closing in around her. She tried to process the weight of his offer, but it was as if the world outside had stopped moving. A waitress from a small cafe offered a position at the helm of one of the city's most influential companies? It seemed impossible, like something out of a dream. "I don't understand," Emma whispered, shaking her head slowly. "Why me?" David's expression softened, and he leaned forward, his gaze now steady and firm. "Because you didn't hesitate to show kindness when others would have ignored it. You saw my father for who he truly is, not just a frail old man who needed help. You saw him as a person, not a figure to be judged or dismissed. And that's exactly what I need in my company. People who see beyond the surface, who understand that success is not just about numbers and power but about humanity, compassion, and making a real difference. Emma swallowed hard, her thoughts racing. She had always dreamed of a better life, of escaping the monotony of working at the cafe, but she never thought it would come in the form of such an unexpected, grand opportunity. She was tempted, of course. The idea of working for Winters Enterprises was more than a dream, it was a chance at transformation. But there was a voice in the back of her mind, a voice that whispered doubts. Could she handle it? Was she truly ready for such a dramatic shift in her life? David seemed to sense her hesitation. "I know this is a lot to take in," he said, his voice gentle. "But I wouldn't be offering you this opportunity if I didn't believe in you. You don't have to give me an answer right away. Think it over. Take the time you need." Emma nodded slowly, her mind still reeling from the sheer magnitude of what was being offered to her. "Thank you, David. I will think about it." David smiled, rising from his chair. "Take your time. But remember, the offer stands. And no matter what you decide, I'm glad to have met someone like you." As he led her to the door, Emma couldn't help but feel the weight of her decision pressing down on her. What if this was the turning point she had been waiting for her entire life? What if everything she had been through, the struggles, the hardships, the quiet acts of kindness, had led her here to this moment? She walked out of the building with a sense of awe, the city around her blurring as her thoughts consumed her. Personal reflection. Opportunities like this don't come every day. In the business world, it's often the cold, calculated decisions that lead to success. But sometimes, it's the unexpected kindness of one person that can completely change the course of someone else's life. Emma's story is a powerful reminder that kindness and integrity are just as valuable as any business acumen. In fact, they might just be the missing ingredient in the formula for success. David Winters didn't see Emma as a means to an end. He saw her as someone who embodied the values he wished to see more of in the world: empathy, kindness, and a willingness to act with integrity regardless of the cost. It's not every day that someone gets an opportunity like Emma's, and it's not always easy to take the leap. But sometimes, taking that leap is the only way to truly find out what you're capable of. Emma stood before the mirror in her small apartment, staring at her reflection with a mixture of uncertainty and hope. The invitation from David Winters had been like a tidal wave that had swept through her world, pulling her into uncharted waters. It had been days since their meeting, and each passing moment had only added to the weight of her decision. The job offer was too big to ignore, and yet it felt too much to embrace. Her mind raced, replaying the moments from that fateful meeting. She had left his office with 1,000 thoughts swirling in her head. David had given her the space to think, to evaluate, but now she felt the pressure of time weighing on her. What if she said yes and failed? What if she wasn't cut out for such a big responsibility? Was she truly ready for the life that David promised her? The city outside her window bustled with life, people walking in all directions, each with their own dreams and struggles. Emma felt like a small fish in a vast, uncharted ocean, but for the first time she had a chance to swim in deeper waters. It was a chance to make something of herself, to escape the life that had confined her for so long. But was she ready to take it? She thought about the people who had made a difference in her life. Her mother, who had taught her the importance of hard work and humility, her best friend, Sarah, who always told her to dream bigger, and even Mr. Winters' father, the elderly man she had helped that day. It had been such a simple act of kindness, but it had led to this monumental offer. The connection between the two of them, though brief, had changed everything. She couldn't forget the gratitude in his eyes, or the way his words had resonated in her heart. Emma sat down on the edge of her bed, her hands trembling slightly as she tried to make sense of it all. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, the screen flashing David's name. She hesitated, then picked it up. "Emma," David's voice came through the receiver, smooth and calm. "I hope you've had some time to think about what we discussed. I know this is a big decision. It's not every day that someone gets an offer like this, but I want you to know that I'm here to support you no matter what you choose." His words were comforting, but they only added to her inner turmoil. She had imagined this moment countless times, but now that it was real, the weight of her future felt overwhelming. "I'm still not sure," she admitted softly. "I don't know if I'm cut out for something like this. It's a huge leap. What if I fail?" David chuckled, a warm, reassuring sound. "Emma, no one knows what the future holds. But I've seen you and I've seen the potential in you. The question is not whether you will fail, but whether you're willing to try. I don't expect you to be perfect. I expect you to be brave. You've already shown that in so many ways." His words struck a chord deep within her. He was right. She had been brave in small, everyday ways, whether it was standing up to the rude customers at the cafe or stepping in when no one else would. This was just another step, another test of courage. The difference was that this time the stakes were higher. She thought about her mother's words. "Life will never hand you anything for free, Emma. If you want something, you have to go after it." This was her chance to go after it, to take control of her destiny. "I'll do it," Emma said, the words coming out more confidently than she felt. "I'll take the job. I'm ready to take that leap." David's voice was full of approval. "I knew you would. You won't regret this, Emma. You've just stepped into a world of endless possibilities, and I'll be right here to guide you." As the call ended, Emma sat back, her mind still racing, but now with a sense of clarity. She had made her choice. She would take the opportunity not just for herself, but for the future she had always dreamed of. The unknown was still intimidating, but for the first time she felt ready to face it. Personal reflection. Sometimes we find ourselves standing on the edge of a decision that could change everything. The fear of the unknown, the fear of failure, can be paralyzing. But it's in those moments that our true potential is revealed. Emma's decision wasn't about knowing she would succeed. It was about trusting herself enough to take that first step into the unknown. Too often, people wait for the perfect moment or the ideal conditions before they take action. But as Emma has realized, the perfect moment never comes. The right decision isn't always the easiest one, but it is the one that challenges us to grow. Sometimes taking the leap is the only way to find out what we're truly capable of. David's belief in her is a powerful reminder that there are people in the world who are willing to see the potential in others, even when they can't see it in themselves. This story serves as a testament to the importance of believing in others and in ourselves. Emma's first day at the Winters Corporation was nothing like she had imagined. As she walked into the towering glass building, her heart pounded with both excitement and dread. The sleek, modern lobby was filled with people dressed in crisp suits, each one moving with purpose. It was a world she had never known, a far cry from the small cafe where she had worked just a week ago. She had arrived early, wanting to make a good impression, but as she stood there, taking in her surroundings, she couldn't help but feel like an outsider. Her simple dress and the nervous energy radiating from her made her feel like a fish out of water. But she reminded herself that this was her chance, this was the beginning of her transformation. She had made the decision, and now she had to see it through. Her phone buzzed, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was a text from David. "I hope your first day goes smoothly. Remember, we hired you because we believe in you. You've got this." A small smile tugged at Emma's lips. His words were a reminder of why she was here. She wasn't just a random hire, she was someone he saw potential in. The pressure of living up to his expectations was immense, but she had made a promise to herself to give it her all. "Miss Brooks?" A voice interrupted her thoughts, and Emma turned to see a tall woman in a black suit walking toward her. The woman's expression was polite but distant, the kind of professionalism Emma had only seen in movies. "Yes, that's me," Emma said, her voice slightly shaky. "I'm Clara, the head of HR. Welcome to Winters Corporation," Clara said with a cool smile. "I'll be showing you to your office and introducing you to the team." As they walked down the long hallway, Emma tried to steady her nerves. The building was even more impressive up close, glossy marble floors, intricate lighting fixtures, and walls lined with awards and accolades. Every corner seemed to scream success, and Emma felt small in comparison. When they reached her office, Clara opened the door, revealing a sleek, modern workspace. A large desk sat by the window, offering a breathtaking view of the city below. There were stacks of files neatly organized on one side, a few personal touches like a small plant and a picture frame, but overall the space was minimalistic. "This is your office," Clara said. "It's a privilege to work here, and I expect you to maintain the high standards we uphold. The team is waiting for you in the meeting room. I'll leave you to get settled in." Clara's tone was businesslike, and before Emma could respond, she had already turned and left, leaving her to absorb the weight of what she had just walked into. Emma stood there for a moment, taking in the silence. The reality of the situation hit her. This wasn't just any job. This was a corporate world filled with high stakes, intense expectations, and people who were driven by ambition. There was no room for mistakes, no room for doubt. Taking a deep breath, she walked to her desk and sat down. The smooth leather chair felt foreign under her, but she forced herself to focus. She had been given an opportunity that so many others would have killed for. The least she could do was prove she was worthy of it. As the morning passed, Emma was introduced to her team, a small group of individuals who worked in various departments but shared a common goal. They were all efficient, driven, and highly professional. Emma tried to keep up with their pace, but there was a certain rhythm they all seemed to have that she struggled to match. The conversations felt like they were happening in a language she didn't quite understand, and as much as she tried to contribute, she found herself second-guessing every word she said. She noticed the looks they gave her, the occasional raised eyebrow, the whispered comments when they thought she wasn't listening. It wasn't malicious, but it was clear they didn't see her as one of them. Emma could feel the pressure mounting. She was the outsider, the newcomer, and no matter how hard she worked, she couldn't shake the feeling that she had to prove herself every single second. At lunch, she sat alone in the company cafeteria, picking at her food. Her phone buzzed again, and she saw David's name on the screen. She answered it quickly, eager for some reassurance. "David," she said, trying to sound confident. "Emma?" His voice was warm as always. "How's everything going? Are you settling in?" Emma hesitated before answering. She didn't want to admit how out of place she felt, how overwhelmed she was by the complexity of the corporate world. "It's a lot to take in," she said. "I'm trying my best, but I can't help feeling like I'm out of my depth." There was a brief pause on the other end of the line. "That's normal," David said finally. "When I started here, I felt the same way. But you've got something that the others don't. You have heart, Emma. Don't lose sight of that. No one here can match your determination. Don't let the corporate world swallow you whole." Emma smiled, feeling a sense of comfort in his words. It was exactly what she needed to hear. David had believed in her from the start, and she couldn't afford to let him down. "Thank you, David," she said softly. "I won't forget why I'm here. I won't give up." "Good," he replied, his voice full of conviction. "Keep pushing. You've got this." As the call ended, Emma felt a renewed sense of purpose. She wasn't just trying to fit in, she was here to prove that she belonged. She had the skills, the heart, and the determination to succeed. It wouldn't be easy, but she was ready for the challenge. Personal reflection. The world Emma now found herself in is one that many of us dream of, but few of us truly understand. The corporate landscape can be daunting, especially when you're an outsider trying to make your mark. But Emma's story is a reminder that success isn't handed to anyone. It's earned through perseverance, resilience, and the willingness to step into the unknown. We often look at successful people and think they have it all figured out. We see their polished exterior, their confidence, and assume that they've always had it easy. But the truth is, every successful person has had to start somewhere, and most of them have faced challenges just like Emma's. The key is not in avoiding failure or discomfort, but in learning how to navigate them with grace and determination. Emma's journey is just beginning, and while she faces significant obstacles, she's learning the most important lesson of all, that she is capable of more than she realizes. It's not about fitting into someone else's mold. It's about finding your own path, trusting in your abilities, and never losing sight of what you want to achieve. Emma sat in her office late in the evening, staring out of the window. The city lights below twinkled like stars, each one representing a possibility, a dream, a future. She had spent the last few months pushing herself harder than she ever thought possible, long hours, intense meetings, and countless challenges. But she had made it. She had finally found her place at Winters Corporation. It hadn't been easy. There were moments when she doubted herself, when she questioned whether she was truly cut out for this world. She had faced skepticism from her colleagues, judgment from her superiors, and at times the crushing weight of imposter syndrome. But through it all, Emma had remained steadfast. She had kept her eyes on the prize, and more importantly, she had kept her integrity intact. The breakthrough had come during a critical meeting with the company's senior leadership team. Emma, who had once been afraid to speak up, had stood her ground and shared an idea that changed everything. It wasn't just about her knowledge or technical skills, it was her unique perspective, her ability to think outside the box, that had caught the attention of the CEO, Mr. Winters. Since then, things had started to shift. Emma had been given more responsibility, and with that, more opportunities to prove herself. Her colleagues had started to respect her, and some even sought her out for advice. It wasn't the fast track to success that she had imagined, but it was real, and it was hers. One afternoon, as she walked through the corridors of the building, she bumped into Clara, the head of HR. Clara smiled warmly at her, a stark contrast to the cold professional demeanor she had shown when Emma first arrived. "You've come a long way, Emma," Clara said, her voice genuine. "I've been hearing a lot of good things about you. You've really impressed the team." Emma felt a swell of pride in her chest. "Thank you, Clara. It's been a journey, but I'm grateful for the opportunity." "You've earned it," Clara said before turning to walk away. "Keep it up." It was moments like these that reminded Emma how far she had come. There was a time when she couldn't have imagined herself standing here, being recognized for her contributions. But now it felt like the culmination of every challenge, every setback, every moment of doubt. She was not just surviving in this world, she was thriving. But the biggest test was yet to come. A week later, Emma was called into a meeting with Mr. Winters, the CEO of the company. Her heart raced as she entered his sleek office. The man who had seemed so distant, so unapproachable, was now someone she was about to sit across from as an equal. "Miss Brooks," Mr. Winters began, his voice steady but warm. "I've been following your progress closely, and I must say I'm impressed." Emma's mind raced. What had she done now? Had she made a mistake? She had worked so hard to get here, to earn his respect, and she couldn't afford to mess up now. "I've been thinking about your potential," Mr. Winters continued. "You have a unique way of thinking, and your contributions have been invaluable. That's why I'd like to offer you a permanent role with the company, something that reflects your capabilities." Emma's breath caught in her throat. A permanent role? She had come here as an entry-level employee, unsure of whether she belonged. But now, Mr. Winters was offering her a position that would secure her future in the company. I don't know what to say," Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You don't need to say anything," Mr. Winters replied. "Just keep doing what you're doing. You've earned this." It was more than just a job offer. It was the validation Emma had been seeking for so long, the recognition that she was capable, that she belonged in this world, and that she had something valuable to contribute. She had made it. She had transformed from the timid girl who had once served coffee to the man she now worked beside, into someone who was integral to the company's success. The moment of reflection. As Emma left Mr. Winters' office, her mind was still spinning. She had done it. She had overcome every obstacle, every fear, and had proven not only to others but to herself that she was more than just her circumstances. The girl who had once been humiliated by her own lack of experience was now a respected part of the corporate world. But the journey didn't stop there. Success wasn't a destination, it was a journey. There would be more challenges ahead, more moments of doubt, and more hard decisions to make. But Emma knew now that she had the strength to face them. She had learned the importance of perseverance, of believing in oneself even when no one else did. As she walked out of the building that evening, the weight of the world on her shoulders felt just a little bit lighter. She had proven to herself that she could rise above any challenge. And that, more than anything, was the true measure of success. The moral of the story. Emma's journey is a powerful reminder that success doesn't come easy. It's not about having the perfect background or the right connections, it's about persistence, hard work, and a willingness to grow. She didn't start off with all the answers, but she had the courage to keep moving forward, to keep learning, and to keep fighting for her place in the world. The corporate world can be intimidating, and it's easy to feel out of place, especially when you're just starting. But Emma's story teaches us that the key to overcoming doubt and fear is to stay true to who you are and to never stop pushing forward. When you believe in yourself and are willing to put in the effort, you'll find that you have the power to achieve things you never thought possible. For anyone who's ever felt like an outsider, Emma's story is a testament to the fact that you can find success, no matter where you start. The journey may be long, but with persistence, you can turn your dreams into reality. If Emma's journey resonated with you, if you've ever felt like an outsider or wondered if you had what it took to succeed in a world that seems impossible to break into, don't give up. Your journey is just beginning, and every step you take is a step closer to your own success. If you found inspiration in Emma's story, make sure to share this video with someone who might need it. Like, comment, and subscribe for more motivational stories that remind us that no matter where we start, we all have the potential to achieve greatness. Keep pushing forward. Your success story is waiting to be written.